Lori Lightfoot, our mayor, apparently using COVID-19 funds to pay off police. We'll talk to Gary McCarthy, the former Chicago police superintendent, at 7:35 about that. And we also had the passing of a giant, a voice like no other. Rush Limbaugh dying from lung cancer at the age of 70. And he really changed broadcasting forever. And a lot of people have written a lot of articles, some not so nice, against Rush Limbaugh. I'm very shocked at what they allowed on Twitter. But a beautiful article that was written by him was from Scot Bertram. He is the general manager at WRFH 101.7 FM of Hillsdale, Michigan, and a lecturer in journalism at Hillsdale College. And we'd like to welcome him to the program. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Morning, Amy. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for having me, despite the circumstances.
Yes. Well, just tell us about, the beloved talk show host and how he remade radio.
Yeah, this is the piece at the American Spectator I wrote the middle of last year. Spectator had a big summer issue on, essentially, great Americans and sort of bringing back that spirit. And there's no one who was better suited to both exemplify Americanism, and also bringing that back than Rush Limbaugh. And I wrote a piece about how he was the right man to step through that door, when the Fairness Doctrine was revoked back in the late 80s, and how he remade radio. I don't have to tell your listeners, I'm sure, about his influence, about his special gifts, the talent on loan from God, as he often said. But for many outsiders, it was this opaque mystery, right? Why is this guy, this mean guy who just makes fun of people for 3 hours a day, so popular? And those people missed so much of what made Rush Limbaugh successful. They missed the entertainment value. Above all else, Rush Limbaugh the show was entertaining. Mm-hmm. Yes, politics defined the show, and yes, conservatism defined the show, but people listened because it was entertaining, and he was able to influence and convince multiple generations of Americans that conservatism was the right way, that it was the best way, because of his just massive gifts. But chief among them was, he was a great radio host, and he knew how to entertain people.
And he could fill a space. Like if he was in this room, he would sing, he could just, I don't know. There's nothing, there's no one in this world that will ever be Rush Limbaugh. But he didn't, he did have a lot of critics. They say he was bombastic. He was, he was against feminism with what he said about Sandra Fluke. Remember that back then when she wanted to have, what exactly, I can't even remember what Sandra Fluke, it was, she wanted birth control as part of Obamacare to be included.
Right.
But he never backed down. He never shied away from anybody. Was he scared of anyone in this world?
He had built this relationship with his audience that was absolutely unbreakable. And as long as he had his listeners and his audience, I don't think there was much for him to fear, because he had the people who would be loyal to him no matter what happened. This relationship he built is so special and unusual, and he did it over a long period of time, obviously, 30-plus years. Radio, as you know, is an intimate medium. We have these one-on-one conversations with people, largely when they're alone, right? When they're in the shower, when they're in the car commuting, when they're working around the house, when they're exercising. It's one voice talking to another, and in this day of headphones and earbuds, it's even more intimate. You're literally talking, whispering in someone's ear, having that communication. And Rush, inadvertently or intentionally, and I think maybe inadvertently, but it worked out really well, made it even more intimate because, he rarely had guests on the show, and he took callers sporadically, except on Open Line Friday.
Scott.
And so for so many hours of the week, Amy, it was just the two of us,
Scott,
the two.
It's Jim.
Just Rush and the listener.
Yeah, Jim. But I suppose you could have figured out it was Jim. Okay, so
unless I talk real low.
Right,
Hi,
right.
Jim.
So it seems to me that there's this notion that conservative radio and conservative media in general can't have personality, can't have entertainment value, can't have comedy. Why has that happened? Is it just been painted by the liberal media that if you are a conservative and / a Republican, which whatever, I call myself a conservative, not a Republican, you can't have personality in comedy? What's up with that?
Well, I'll talk specifically about the radio sector. It's what I know best. I worked a day in D.C. at the Kirby Center, Hillsdale College's Kirby Center. We had a studio down there, and all the Salem national hosts were using it one day. Hugh Hewitt, Dennis Prager, Michael Medved was still there, and even Sean Hannity stopped by too. And I worked with all of them in the span of a day. And I think the mistake that many critics of conservative talk, conservative communication make is this expectation that every host is the same. Every host has the same opinion. Every host is using the same talking points. And, of course, there's nothing further from the truth. All of those guys prepped differently. All of those guys had different agendas, had different main points to make, and all of them peppered their show with humor and lightheartedness. You can't do this job without it, and Rush was a master at that. He was optimistic. He was full of hope for the country, and I think critics largely just don't listen, just don't pay attention. They don't spend the time with these voices to understand how they are entertaining and informing an audience. Rush's show is humorous.
Right. And you can't get your message across unless it's fun for someone to listen to, right? I mean, sometimes, and I like Dennis Prager's show quite a bit. I'm not criticizing it at all. But the shows I tend to lean towards are the ones who can make me smile and laugh, and doesn't have to be all how everything's bad and we have to get everybody, we have to get everyone on our side or else we're all going to die in a fiery crash.
And look, that was Rush's big breakthrough when he went national. It was lending that light touch to the proceedings. I describe him in the piece as being this amalgam of Muhammad Ali, right, with the braggadociousness, but kind of having fun with it. Amalgam of Muhammad Ali and Paul Harvey, that Americanism. And one of Rush's great heroes, was Larry Lujak, the famed, legendary Chicago host. He took a lot from Larry Lujak. And so you sort of throw all of those influences together with a splash of William F. Buckley, of course, and sort of the bookishness and the learnedness of Buckley. Man, that's an unbelievable combination. Who wouldn't want to listen to that? And Rush's breakthrough is bringing all of those disparate factors together.
All right, Scott Bertram, you can read the article at spectator.org. It's titled Rush Limbaugh, Exceptional American. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Amy, Jim, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It's simple. You're underemployed or undercompensated. In today's market, you need a career partner, a coach. That's exactly what you'll get with Express Pro Chicagoland. Not just good employment, but a plan for your working future.
We made a plan, and now I'm in control of my job future.
That can include a path for training, education, or skills to match what you want for a career path, or matching your skills with the right employer.
It was great. They helped me find a really good job.
One of the largest in the country and Chicagoland. Express Pro's